Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Cody gets an extra $10,000 after Josslyn sells Carly's false Australia story. According to General Hospital teasers for Monday, August 4th, Cody Bell receives an additional $10,000 from Christina Corinthos Davis, while Josslyn Jacks will sell Carly Spencer a fake Australia story. Josslyn will first carry out her plan and pretend that her grandmother's acquaintance in Australia is in dire need of assistance. Josslyn will play up the idea that perhaps her mother was correct about Vaughn, but Carly will be a little dubious of her abrupt departure. Carly could enjoy the idea of Joss suggesting that placing some distance between them will help her determine what she wants. Carly won't know, of course, that Josslyn is really on her way to Dalmatia's Five Poppies Resort, where Joss and Vaughn will eventually pretend to be newlyweds. Since he could hear Britt Westbourne's voice in the background during that resort conversation, Jason Morgan will continue to be in disbelief. Jason should be completely convinced that Britt is still alive and intends to stay there. In Monday's GH episode, Britt will likewise be taken by surprise, so we'll see if she receives any clues about Jason's searching. Harrison Chase will also be shocked by Brooke Lynn Quartermaine in the interim. The revelation will catch Chase off guard because Brooke Lynn will not want to adopt a kid until she resolves her issues with Giovanni Gio Palmieri. Chase will eventually run across Gio and perhaps encourage him to make amends with Brooke Lynn. Gio won't be prepared for that, though, and his thoughts will be elsewhere. Gio will be into a dangerous scenario because he offered to check the lab while Emma Scorpio Drake is at Professor Henry Hank Dalton's crucial lecture. Gio will encourage Emma to keep this private in the hopes of learning what Dalton might be concealing. Cody will meet up with Christina while Rick Lansing goes to dinner with Molly Lansing and maybe hears her most recent Cody tirade. Christina will have the opportunity to convey fresh directives about the Ava Jerome seduction scheme at that point, but Cody will initially appear reluctant to comply. Cody will readily agree once there is more money involved because Christina will offer to contribute an additional $10,000 for his trouble. Ava will then present Alexis Davis with a proposal to think about. Ava might suggest a means to reduce Alexis' blackmail costs after claiming she's going to do her a great service. Keep checking back for updates on Ava's presentation and Alexis's reaction, as she may be attempting to pressure Rick out of this agreement. Finally, according to General Hospital spoilers, Anna Devane will meet Liesl Albrecht. Therefore, after hearing Jason's side of the story, she might try to find out Britt's information. Spoilers for General Hospital, Jason tells Britt these 6 strong words, leading to an emotional disclosure and future reunion. According to General Hospital spoilers, when Jason Morgan eventually locates Britt Westbourne, he might deliver 6 strong words to her. Here is what GH viewers may expect from an emotional confession and reconciliation. Jason has been thinking back on his relationship with Britt, which many fans feel was way too short. Jason and Britt never had the opportunity to completely explore their potential together, but hopefully that will change in the upcoming months. It's only a matter of time till they meet in person now that Jason is making efforts to demonstrate Britt's survival. Britt was unaware that Jason was watching her board the jet to Dubrovnik when he saw her at the Paris airport. Britt should have an opportunity to respond to Jason the next time they meet each other. When Jason finds her and starts questioning her about her fictitious death and the reasons behind her fleeing from her loved ones back in Port Charles, Britt could be taken aback. Even if that list isn't very long, Jason is undoubtedly on it. It's possible that Jason is preparing to make an emotional admission that will warm Britt's heart and usher in their new chapter together. When Jason chose to marry Carly Spencer, he upset Britt, but he was in a difficult situation because he was attempting to assist control the mafia turmoil while Sonny Corinthos was thought to be dead. This leads us to the 6 strong words that Jason may have said to Britt: "I never stopped caring about you." Jason didn't forget about Britt and their relationship, even though his feelings for Carly did grow throughout that period. Once Jason cracks the most recent mystery surrounding Britt, their special bond could only get stronger. Britt will undoubtedly have a lot of explaining to do, and since Jason also cheated on a terrible fate, she might also require him to explain certain things. Stay tuned for updates on what awaits Jason and Britt as they prepare for what may be an incredible second-chance romance. According to General Hospital spoilers, Britt and Jason will cross paths in a reunion plot that promises to be full of shocking revelations. Spoilers for General Hospital for Monday, August 4th, through Friday, August 8th. In addition to Sunny figuring things out, Ava testing Rick, and Britt not intending to obey orders, Michael has suspicions and doesn't waste time sharing them. General Hospital spoilers for the week of August 4th. General Hospital spoilers for Monday, August 4th. Anna and long-standing foe Albrecht are going to meet. Make sure to grab a seat. Ava makes a proposition out of an idea she has. Does something else catch Britt off guard, or is she about to be found out? Gio encounters Chase, his stepfather. Molly's father joins her for dinner. I wonder whether they will bring up his relationship with Ava. Tuesday, August 5th, General Hospital spoilers. Jason confides in Sunny, still believing he saw Britt. Michael tells someone why he is suspicious, even though he isn't inherently suspicious. Because of his displeasure with Sunny's recent behavior, Lucas and Carly end up having another frank discussion. What can Willow do to make people forget her recent behavior if she wants to make amends? Derailing Tracy is the only thing Sidwell wants. But, Guy, good luck with that. Wednesday, August 6th spoilers for General Hospital. Sunny completes a riddle. Of course, not literally. Chase and Michael had an argument. Lulu hopes the individual she is enlisting is an ally. Dante and Laura have a meeting. Danny attempts to guide Rocco through a challenging circumstance. Thursday, August 7th General Hospital spoilers. Anna is a lady with connections, but will one of them help her? Emma and Trina had a heart-to-heart talk. Notes on the Sidwell/Sunny issue are compared by Jordan and Laura. Brooklyn talks to Sunny about sharing secrets. The reason Ava tests Rick is because she has severe trust issues. Is he going to pass or fail? General Hospital spoilers for Friday, August 8th. Will Carly's suggestions be accepted by boyfriend Brennan? Why does Drew go in search of Elizabeth? It shouldn't be shocking that Britt is going to disobey someone else's directions because she has never been a great believer in following the rules. Lulu and Dante's relationship becomes tense, and they both become furious. Jason and Anna share a certain bond. When she weighs in, will that affect his response? GH spoilers. What we know about Martin's inquisitiveness about Monica. According to General Hospital spoilers, viewers are curious about Martin's recent fascination with Monica. In fact, many viewers noticed that Martin was asking Yuri a lot of questions about Monica in one of the show's most recent episodes, which made many people wonder, what's going on? Why does Martin find Monica so interesting? According to certain internet rumors, Martin may be planning Leslie's demise and, of course, providing Monica one more plot point. It would be wonderful, of course, to arrange for special guests and to include her in a final tale. Naturally, GH fans on the internet had a lot to say about the possible direction of this plot. It's about the mysterious letter to Monica that Martin found at Drew's place, some people even noted. I thought it might have been from Britt, who was GH chief of staff while Monica was on the GH board, but now I don't think so. Martin was surprised to see who it was from. What's next for Monica? I believe Martin is attempting to exact revenge on Tracy for cheating on him with his ex-wives, remarked another show viewer. He is aware of how fiercely protective she is of Monica. Then there was this comment as well. Jason's steps were steady as he moved through the ancient, cobbled alleys of Dubrovnik. Martin is merely looking around to see if he can locate a weak area where he may assault or blackmail Tracy. The burden of the past weighed him down like the oppressive humidity of the Mediterranean. He had previously pursued ghosts, shadows, regrets, and inquiries, but this time it was different. The ghost felt real this time. It wore Britt Westbourne's face this time. At the airport, it had begun. Only a peek. Nothing substantial. A familiar sway in the walk, a flash of blonde hair, and a tightening sensation deep within his chest, something electrifying. It didn't matter that he couldn't even see her face well. He recognized her. Carly had flatly denied it, her voice piercing through worry and fatigue. She had said, Jason, she's gone. You are aware of that. Jason's intuition had never led him astray, yet she passed away in Albrecht's arms. Everything Carly had attempted to persuade him of was disproved by that one look. He had enough information from the flight manifest. He saw that the woman had taken a plane to Dubrovnik. He had done the same now. Standing at the edge of the plaza, he looked around at the lively crowd passing by outside cafes and the music coming from a violinist nearby. Something hidden, something not quite in the open, was the undercurrent that drew him here, even if the city felt both ancient and lively at the same time. Liesl Albrecht was the only one who possibly knew more than him. The person who had proclaimed her dead, Britt, had last seen her. The day prior, Josslyn had located her in Prague. With steely eyes, Albrecht stated firmly, "I watched her die." Josslyn remarked, "You held someone, Liesl." "I held her in my arms, Josslyn." "Was it Britt, though?" Her gaze wavered. "For a moment only." She insisted, "She was dying." Liesl remained silent, saying, "You're not answering the question." And he knew enough from that quiet. She either didn't know or knew but chose not to disclose it. In any case, it led to the same conclusion: someone had gone to considerable measures to make it appear that Britt was not out there. His next call had been Spinelli. After searching through data clusters, surveillance footage, and digital traces, the tech expert finally identified a name: Dr. Eva Beckman, a doctor who had entered Dubrovnik under diplomatic cover soon after Britt's purported death. Josslyn didn't require sharpness, even though the image Spinelli gave was grainy because it was taken through a pane of glass. The little tilt of her head, the way she held her jaw, the way she moved, it was her. He discovered her in a tiny medical facility tucked up in the hills outside the city, away from the crush of tourists. Before entering, he waited until the building was empty. No weapons are displayed. No plans were made. Simply instinct. There she was. With her back to the light, Britt stood at the far end of the hall, going over the charts. She wore a white coat that appeared clean but old, and her hair was wrapped back in a loose twist. Her name was not mentioned by Josslyn. He was not required to. Slowly, as if something had moved inside her before her body could follow, she turned. The moment hung in suspended time when her eyes locked with his. "Josslyn?" Stunned and incredulous, she murmured, her voice shaking slightly. He took a step forward. "It's you." She remained motionless. Didn't say anything. Simply gazed at him as if he had dug his way out of a grave to locate her. "How?" she muttered. Josslyn's lips quirked. "That's what I came here to ask you." The faint buzz of fluorescent lights and the thumping in their chests were the only sounds to break the silence that had returned. Britt leaned back against the wall and drew a trembling breath. "I believed you were dead." "I was," he muttered. "To everyone else, at least." "I had no choice," she responded, still in shock, "just like you. They informed me that I was being pursued. Because unless I vanished, I couldn't live. I have to convince everyone." "Albrecht knew about it," Britt remarked. "She didn't want to be." Josslyn took in the words and allowed them to sink in. "But she understood. You've been here, then. Hiding. For so long. Aiding folks." Her eyes were ferocious, but her voice faltered as she tried to make up for all I used to be. "I didn't think I'd ever see you again." Josslyn took a hesitant step forward, closing the distance until there was just a breath left. "Why didn't you get in touch?" he inquired. Britt gave a headshake. "Considering that you were deceased." "What if I wasn't?" She didn't respond. His fingertips brushed her arm as he extended his hand. Her breath caught. Their conflict wasn't brand new. It had been seething beneath the surface of their cooperation, their bond, long before her alleged death. Now, however, it was different, sharpened by survival, treachery, and pain. Against all difficulties, the two individuals had managed to break free from their seclusion and reunite. She was the first to move, her lips gently parted before colliding with his. It wasn't supple. It wasn't a tentative one. Years of loss, unsolved questions, hope, rage, and remorse all erupted into one instant. Josslyn didn't retreat. He encircled her with his arms, raised her, and shoved her back into the closest examination room. Behind them, the door clicked shut. Silence encircled them once more as they lay in the faint light of the clinic's rear office, her head resting against his chest. Now, however, things were different. calm, satisfied. "You won't vanish once more, will you?" Jason inquired. Britt muttered, "I didn't want to the first time. I'd like to return. I'm not sure how, though." "We'll figure it out," he whispered, sweeping her hair away from her face. Together. Britt felt less alone for the first time in a long time. Jason didn't feel lost either. Both of them had once perished in the world. Now, however, they were once more alive. Nothing, not even time, distance, or secrets, could alter what they had discovered in one another. Does Willow from General Hospital have a right to reclaim her children? Key takeaways: after accepting a series regular position on Brilliant Minds, Al Calderon is leaving his role as Javi Hernandez on Days of Our Lives. Because of the soap opera's early filming schedule, Calderon is rumored to remain on the show until well into 2026 despite his departure. The character of Javi is alive and well in Salem, according to a program spokeswoman, suggesting that the role will probably be recast. The following actors are possible candidates for the recast: Diego Tinoco, Chance Perez, Brian Craig, Jason Canella, and Alex Alegria. Willow at General Hospital had been warned by the people of Port Charles for more than a year that her connection with Drew will ultimately cost her everything, and it has. Drillow's beginning as part of the Quartermain family tradition, Willow was blissfully married to Michael in the summer of 2024 and raising their kids together. However, when Willow and Drew started a covert romance and kissed on July 4th, everything changed. While Drew was also seeing Willow's mother, Nina, that first spark swiftly developed into another kiss and then a full-fledged affair that ended Willow's marriage. Michael in the middle, under the pretense of love, Drew's cunning and dishonesty have only become worse over the past year. Their affair was made public, and shortly after, Michael suffered terrible injuries in a bombing intended for Sunny. Willow and Drew's bond deepened while Michael recovered in Germany. Fans hailed Rory Gibson's performance as one of the greatest soap recasts in recent memory when he replaced Michael. Willow also lost custody of her kids, Amelia and Wiley. Willow, who was desperate to get her family back together, consented to marry Drew in the hopes of securing shared custody with Michael and providing a stable home for the children. However, Drew persisted in his manipulations, most notably when Wiley heard him tell Rick that Michael no longer wanted the kids since he was expecting a new child with Sasha. Willow's end? In an attempt to save a family for her kids, Willow proceeded with the wedding in spite of the warnings. However, when Nina eventually came clean about her own affair with Drew, the ceremony fell apart because Curtis had already told her. Willow snapped, telling her that Nina was dead. She started the vows but soon faced Drew, who was unable to defend his betrayals. Willow, distraught and enraged, ran out of the chapel. Later, she knocked on Carly's home and begged to see her children, but both Carly and Michael turned her down. Despite being severe, their choice made sense because fans praised McMullen's portrayal and found Willow's inner torment to be realistic and unfiltered. The crucial question now is whether Willow should be kept away from the children or if Michael should allow her to visit, even if shared custody is not an option, since that she has witnessed Drew's true nature. There were no loud announcements or trumpets to proclaim Liesel's return to Port Charles. It was unobtrusive, distinguished by a covert late-night entry through the General Hospital's side wing. When a nurse saw her, she gasped, but Liesel just nodded and carried on. She had been gone long enough to be missed, but her return would change everything. She had once danced between crazy research and mother remorse. She acted as if she had never left, and maybe she didn't think she had. Liesel had been absent from the hospital hallways and social gatherings, but her presence had persisted in rumors, cautions, and recollections. She was back in the flesh now, though, and Britt followed shortly after. For months, the town had been shaken by the first shock of Britt's alleged death. Some, like Jason, had never quite believed it, but for others, grief had blossomed into acceptance. He had discovered the truth abroad thanks to his instincts, which had been refined by loss and risk. And the repercussions of that revelation were more severe than anticipated after he brought Britt home. The reception to Britt's resurrection was not as cordial as one might have thought. There were still too many scars. There were just too many unresolved questions. Some saw her reappearance as an opportunity to face long-suppressed remorse, while others saw it as an opening of old wounds. At General Hospital, the mother-daughter reunion happened during a peaceful period while Britt waited by herself in an old pediatric wing, gazing out the window toward the harbor. Before she could see the shadow extending over the floor, she heard heels click. She turned to see Liesl standing at the doorway, her piercing gaze and decades of spoken truths behind her, without a clipboard or white coat. Liesl whispered, "I should have known you'd survive. You were too obstinate to remain dead." Britt gave a little, weak laugh. "It takes one to know one." The embrace that ensued was one of unadulterated need rather than gentle reconciliation. They held on to one another because they knew no one else would get what it meant to come back from the edge quite as they did, not to change their past. Liesl was different. Years of sorrow and the agonizing path to redemption had softened her edges, but they were still sharp. Indeed, she had been a villain in the past, but no more so than the other people who roamed free in Port Charles. She had accepted accountability, offered assistance when needed, and even made multiple self-sacrificing sacrifices for the people she cared about. She had accepted herself as she was. She would now strive to make sure Britt could follow suit. Britt had a more convoluted past. Her actions, stealing Dante and Lulu's embryos, siding with her mother during difficult times, and manipulating secrets that weren't hers to divulge, had caused pain throughout the neighborhood. Nevertheless, she had matured. She was softer because of her connection with Brad. She had been rooted by her passion with Jason. Her redemption arc had reached its climax when she passed away, if that could still be considered that. However, she had not truly passed away. After a failed mission had turned her into a target, Albrecht and a few loyal allies had planned her escape. Disappearing had been simpler than dealing with the consequences. She had worked, recovered, and rebuilt during those years of seclusion, observing how life goes on without her. Now that she was back in Port Charles, she entered Kelly's like a ghost in the middle of the day. When Brad spotted her, he dropped a cup. Before he spoke, Maxie gazed at her for a full minute. Sonny arched his brow but remained silent. Knowing what to say when someone you buried resurfaced in front of you was difficult for everyone. Jason supported her the entire time. It had been him who had searched, believed, and located her. And she was more steadied by his constant presence than she wanted to acknowledge. They never made bold statements about their feelings, but there was no denying the solace they found in one another. They now had a peculiar bond, two souls who had lost all and had clawed their way back not just to life but to each other, after his return from the supposed dead had mirrored hers. They weren't flawless. Jason was still troubled by his past decisions, still hesitant to trust, and still burdened with the responsibility of defending others at his own cost. Something within him had softened once more with Britt. She put him to the test. Few people could make him truly smile the way she did. Over peaceful evenings spent strolling along the docks or having late dinners in her apartment, away from prying eyes, their bond grew. They kept their losses to themselves. They concentrated on the future. Liesl, meantime, got to work taking back her position at the hospital. She came back as a lady who had grown from her mistakes, not as a crazy scientist or unpredictable plotter. She admonished nurses for small transgressions, gave younger doctors unsolicited advice, and bluntly told Rocco about his odd beginnings. Liesl noticed Willow spinning when no one else seemed to. She intervened with unexpected tact, based on her personal experiences with mental instability and emotional turmoil. She gave Willow advice without passing judgment, just giving her room to process. Liesl didn't ask for forgiveness, but not everyone was prepared to embrace her once more. Instead, she provided consistency. It was sufficient to gradually regain trust and was more than most had anticipated. The town adapted as the weeks went by. Britt resumed doing procedures as if she had never left, reclaiming her position as a physician. Happy to see his closest friend again, Brad took on the role of her shadow once more, guiding her through awkward reintroductions and reminding her of gossip she had been unaware of. Meanwhile, Liesl divided her time between her medical responsibilities and silently watching Britt like a cautious angel of protection. However, there was no peace. In Port Charles, secrets were never kept hidden. Just beyond the surface was the reality behind Britt's absence, including the individuals involved, the reasons for it, and the danger that had followed her. Furthermore, Liesl was well aware that the quiet before a storm was frequently the most hazardous. She started her own inquiry, surreptitiously examining the people who had pursued her daughter. Her spine tingled at what she discovered. She had assumed that the shadows had long since died, but Britt's homecoming had brought them back to life. Britt was not wanted alive. Jason also observed the change. It was now essential to watch her back, not merely a habit. He had lost her once before. He refused to allow it to occur again. Britt came home one evening from a hard shift at the hospital to discover a message on her counter. It wasn't from her mother, Brad, or Jason. All it said was, "You were meant to remain dead." She realized then that tranquility was not yet theirs. She didn't break down, though. Her height increased. She was no longer merely her mother's daughter. She was more powerful. She was prepared. And Port Charles would never be the same again, for better or worse. Jason is astonished by Britt's voice, and Vaughn and Josslyn head to the newlywed resort. While Vaughn and Josslyn Jacks were on a fictitious newlywed resort expedition, Jason Morgan was taken aback by Britt Westbourne's voice on the phone. Christina Corinthos Davis noticed that Marco Rios was injured in the Metro Court pool, but he offered her the same false ravine story he told the police. Although Christina was thankful that Marco had saved her life at the pub, she questioned whether he felt bad about it because he was unable to be there for Natalia Ramirez. Sonny Corinthos was also mentioned, but Christina reassured Marco that her father had nothing to do with Natalia's death and wouldn't have harmed her. Lucas Jones asked Felicia Scorpio for guidance at GH regarding Sonny's case, and she advised him not to let Sonny interfere with his personal relationships. At Alexis Davis's office, she met with Sonny and questioned him extensively about Marco's kidnapping. Sonny maintained that Jen Sidwell was the threat, but Alexis hinted that Christina might be following in her father's footsteps given her recent actions. Sonny couldn't understand what that meant, but Alexis was able to hide her mistake. After a while, Lucas ran into Sonny at the Metro Court pool and suggested that perhaps someone need to inform Christina about Sonny's kidnapping of Marco. Sonny just went away after telling Lucas to complete his task. Regarding Dante Falconeri, he displayed a photo of Greta the courier to pool guy Danny Morgan. Since he received $50, Danny recalled her as the large tipper Josslyn had told him about. When the woman snatched the backpack, Dante knew Josslyn was with Professor Henry Hank Dalton at the pool that day. Dante observed Emma Scorpio Drake's flirtatious attempts to court Dalton while Outback was by her side at the pool. Eventually, Emma discussed a major speech Dalton was organizing with Giovanni Gio Palmieri. Emma planned to break into the lab using the master key that had been stolen while Dalton was speaking at the event. Since it would raise questions if Dalton's star student wasn't present taking notes, Gio said he would complete it alone. Jason updated Anna Devane at her home on the sighting at the Britt airport and the absence of cremation proof. In the end, Anna speculated that Britt might have staged her death to hide her Huntington's-related decline from others. Because doing so could entail disobeying Britt's wishes, Anna suggested against pursuing her. Josslyn and Vaughn were perplexed as to why they were being removed from the investigation at Jack Brennan's office, but Brennan informed them that Dalton was no longer the main target. Vaughn and Josslyn were given fictitious names and rings to pretend to be newlyweds since it was more crucial that they investigate what was going on at the Five Poppies Resort in Dalmatia. Brennan didn't think it was a huge deal, but Josslyn was concerned about how it would appear if she abruptly stopped being Dalton's assistant. Nevertheless, Josslyn was concerned that Emma would take her place and end up in danger. Brennan insisted that this mission was crucial and that failure to do one's duties could result in death. Brennan indicated that this trip could be prolonged if needed, but it was originally scheduled to last 2 weeks. Additionally, Brennan had a private conversation with Josslyn, emphasizing the need for her to sell her role in this fictitious newlywed romance. Britt had her car delivered to the Five Poppies Resort so she could have a nice dinner. The plan was squelched by a man named Pascal, who noted that there were still unresolved issues because Britt had previously struck a donkey. Pascal argued that he believed it was based on Britt staying on the property given her physical condition, even though she was ready to have a driver take her into town. Clearly, there was a mysterious man in command who would rather Britt remained on the scene. Britt believed her trip to Paris caused a stir and pondered whether she should simply remain caged up until Greta delivered further information. Pascal promised Britt that he would share the information. Jason called Pascal to make a reservation because he was the manager. Jason remembered Britt's voice since he was talking to Pascal on the phone when he heard her storm in, demanding her car keys. After returning to Dante, he met up with Anna once more and informed her of all the information he had received from Danny on the courier. Anna became even more concerned about Emma after Dante revealed that she was becoming close to Dalton. According to General Hospital spoilers, Emma will be protected by Anna, but disaster is still on the horizon. In addition to a photo album full of Scotty mischief and memories, Ken Schreiner reflects on his wild introduction to Port Charles on the anniversary of his General Hospital debut. When a newcomer assumed the position of Lee Baldwin's adopted son on August 2, 1977, Port Charles was completely changed. Neither the ABC soap opera General Hospital nor the budding young actor Ken Schreiner realized they had embarked on a partnership that would endure over 40 years when they were cast as Scotty Baldwin. In fact, they were initially unaware that they would be in a relationship. Schreiner, the reluctant soap star, stated in a 2022 episode of State of Mind, "There was no actual scene to read, no real audition. There's a character that was on the show once, the producer just kind of talked to me. He is the son of the local lawyer and was a child. At your age, we hope to bring him back. Are you interested?" Actually, Schreiner wasn't at the moment. As a young actor, you might ask yourself, well, why do I want to do a soap opera? If you're starting to make a name for yourself in the community, have some guest star roles, and have a contract, he remembered. All of us aspired to be movie stars. However, my acting coach, who had worked on a soap opera, informed me that you will never receive finer training on camera, daily practice, and fresh material. You're not wasting 6 weeks sitting around practicing a play you're going to perform. There is a fresh scene and new material every day. The rest is history. Schreiner was ultimately contracted for 2 episodes. He stated, "It was August 2nd and August 3rd. This is very fun, I'd love to do this," I said after recording them live. Then a couple of weeks passed, and I thought, Christ, this is never going to happen. 2 or 3 weeks later, my agency called and said, yeah, they really want you. They have a huge tail. We were in on the 3-year contract. After that, Schreiner was thrust into the spotlight, where his relationship with Laura Weber, played by Jeannie Francis, was so well-liked that it helped the program leave death row. Schreiner was given the chance to play a completely different Scotty after the couple was split up by the phenomena that was Luke and Laura. This Scotty had been turned into a bitter liar by his bride's startling betrayal. In the years that have passed, Scotty has occasionally fixed his moral compass, but he has kept the playful streak that makes Schreiner's eyes sparkle. When he appears on TV, viewers always know, not nearly frequently enough, we should add. They're going to have a great time. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.